All right, and I think we're going live now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sunday night, our CNOC, time out 1 second, pandemic. Hi, guys, I'm going live now. All right, we're back.
I love it.
Welcome to the Cannabis Nurses Network Live. We have our special guest tonight, which is Miss Doris Walters RN. She is a registered nurse who started her own CBD line. She's also been a part of the Cannabis Nurses of Color Network since we started, right? And she's actually going to share a little bit about her journey, starting her CBD line, what the challenges have been, what the wins have been, what the process has been, and also, you know, just a little bit about what it's like to be an entrepreneur out here in the cannabis nursing industry. She also does consultations and helps clients navigate cannabis. So I'm super excited to have her here. We also have Ivory, our co-founder. She's going to be moderating. So if you guys have questions, please add it into the comments. She'll be checking that. And please go ahead and share and let us know that you're here so we know who is tuning in with us tonight. So Candy.
Hey everyone, I'm super excited to be here.
I feel like I'm so excited, honestly, because I remember sitting at a table with you.
I know, I'm so excited. It's like you and Ivory have just like, this is just such an amazing platform. And it went from us eating dinner to being here like a year later. I think that's so amazing. I love it.
It's almost a year. It's almost a year.
It's almost a year.
I remember sitting at that table and you were like, I'm going to start my own line of CBD.
Yeah.
So it hasn't even been a year, girl, and you're already there. So I'm super excited. You know, tell me a little bit about what kind of nursing you were doing before you did this. Like, what were you doing before cannabis?
So before cannabis, I'm still actually doing it. I'm a certified case manager.
Okay.
So I work for a major health insurance company, and I work for the government side of it. So I work for Medicare and Medicaid.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I talk to so many members every day that are cannabis users. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because, so I'm licensed. The good thing is I'm licensed in 28 states because of that position. But let me tell you, honey, California is the healthiest state that I have ever managed. And you know why? When I look, you see it. They use cannabis. You know, I'll call a member up and they'll be like 82 is like, oh, honey, I'm about to go to yoga. I'm going to need you to call me back later. I'm like, okay, cool. No meds. You know, you look at their medication list and you won't see any meds, but you see that they're a cannabis user. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I'm talking about right here. This is what I'm talking about right here.
So you live in Virginia, right? Is that where you're home?
So they self-report, Candy?
Yeah. They're the first ones to tell you, hey, before this, you know, I was on like 10 different pain medications. My blood pressure was high. And they would be like, a lot of them said that their grandchildren actually introduced them to cannabis and took them to the dispensary for the first time. And they were like, it was the best thing that had ever happened. And a lot of them are upset that their doctors did not tell them that they had that option years ago. So it's like they're living their best life their way. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's awesome. And then, so coming from a state, because I lived in Virginia before, in Hampton Roads, where you are. So coming from a state where we know, you know, there's high blood pressure, there's all these chronic illnesses, obesity, like all this stuff, you know, and you are seeing, I mean, you're seeing in real time, like you're looking at patients in 28 states. You know, do you find any other states that have legalization are showing like healthier patients?
I see a little bit in Georgia. I'm seeing a little bit in Georgia, but I think California is just they're more liberated. You know, it's like it is what it is. I'm gonna live my best life on my terms, and I think you know, because I'm seeing it with the population, the 50 and up population.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people still are stuck in that stigma of it's an illegal drug. You know what I mean? And like for Virginia, we have a crappy medical program.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why it exists. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all.
Do you guys have pharmacies or dispensaries?
We have pharmacies, and they're run by pharmacists. So,
Sound
you
like
know,
Louisiana.
But yeah,
yeah, they're run by pharmacists. So, we have access to no flour in Virginia, which to me, flour is the be all do all, because it's like 400 different strands that can treat for like so many different health comorbidities, but we only have flour. You can only get tincture, pain bombs, and vapes, and some edibles. That's it. So I'm like, what kind of medical program is that? That's not doing anything.
New York is like that. They don't have flour,
Very
and then they have
right.
these weird, like, it's the blue, it's the orange, like those are the different preparations. I guess the ratio of CBD to THC. But you're right. I mean, one of the things I was telling somebody the other day is different, you know, like you said, it's not just the strains, it's the, you know, it's the cultivars. These different plants all do different things, and we need them the way they come out of the ground.
Exactly. So it's like you can't even educate people correctly, because it's like you educate them based on you know, the strain, but at the same time, when they go to the pharmacist, I call it the pharmacist because that's where they're going. All they're going to do is give them a tincture. You don't know what's in that body. You don't know where it came from. They're not telling them where it came from. It's just, here's the ratio of 30-1 or 25-1. And I'm like, that's kind of, I just don't understand the purpose for that.
Yeah, that's, you know, and it is, I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you've never actually touched cannabis before, you can actually smell certain strains and feel
oh my God, yes,
of the strains just by smell. You can start to feel relaxed or feel, you know, because those are the terpenes that you're smelling. So it's interesting sometimes because people have no idea like how beneficial just being around the plants can be, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Because on the days that I decide that I want to, you know, of course I have, you know, I do CO2 extraction, but on the days when I'm at home and I want to, you know, I want to have my own little plant incense going on in the house. Let me tell you, it's certain strands that, I mean, I feel the effect for days, like 2-3 days. That's
awesome. So, okay. So you're like, cannabis is doing something out here in the world. I want to get involved in cannabis. And then what happened? Tell me what happened, because it's interesting enough because we were connected before cannabis and then we happened to reconnect at the ACNA.
Right.
So, you know, how did you end up going from, hey, I'm a nurse and I'm doing case management and I see these things out here to, okay, now I'm a cannabis nurse?
Well, first I'm a user. You know, I can't go to sleep. I don't have anxiety, but I have one of those brains that just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to relax because I'm constantly, you know, going. But because before I was a nurse, even while I was in nursing school afterwards, I owned a nail salon for 15 years. So I've always been an entrepreneur. So, you know, my son he uses cannabis for pain in his hip. He shattered his hip jumping out of a plane when he was in the military. And he's in a whole nother country. So, you know, he's like, I know I have an addictive personality. He said, the last thing I want to do is start taking opioids. He said, I don't want to do that because I already know how I am. So he started using cannabis and he started getting, so the results were like amazing. And then my youngest daughter, who is, I mean, she's on a dean's list. She's 20 years old. She has really bad insomnia. So after she's gone to school all day, gone to her job and trained, because she's a fitness trainer, she has to smoke at night to go to sleep. And for me, you know, my thing is, I'd rather them do that than to have to go the big pharma route, even for myself, because I don't like taking pills. I hate taking pills. So, and you know, I'm open with it. My thing is I'm a nurse, but you're not going to take my licensure. I'm not doing anything that's going to affect someone. I'm not in bedside nursing anymore too, which makes a big difference. But that's my personal belief.
Right.
So I'm not really, I'm really open about the fact that I believe in medical cannabis. But in Virginia, because of our laws, you know, I was like, what is the next best thing that I can do for my community? Mm-hmm. So I got involved with this company that they have a really great product. But for me, it's not about the money, it's about access. And that's why I started my brand, because realistically, to treat people, most people that need help with CBD and medical cannabis, they're on a fixed income. They're on fixed income, they're retired. You know, they don't have the money. And to go to the dispensaries or to go buy these bottles of CBD, a lot of times I don't even know what they are. Yeah. $120, people can't afford that. People just cannot afford that. And the plant, it does not cost that much to give someone a quality bottle of full spectrum tincture. It does not cost that much. It does not cost that much.
The challenge too is, like, in a place like where I live, it's all about how it looks, which is, you know, I was just talking to somebody the other day and they were like, you know, you go to some of these dispensaries and they want everything to match their shishi, you know, location or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good and well, but at the same time, it's like, what's in it? You know what I'm saying?
It's cute, but what is it?
Right, because they have packaging that costs so much. They have all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, you have all this, but what is in the product?
And this is like, and let me look, because I'm so proud of this. Like, you know, because I had people say, oh, you white label. No, I don't white label. I work with the actual farmer and he does CO2 extraction, because that's what I prefer over ethanol, only because I have some patients that are going through drug addiction. So the last thing I want to do is give them a product that has been extracted with ethanol, even though people say, oh, the ethanol comes out. It doesn't. It still attaches itself. So for me, I prefer CO2 extraction. That's just my preference. But for me, even with my people, so I make sure that everybody see my Helena's face. For my broad and my full spectrum, I always educate people on the importance of seeing this certificate of analysis. You have to see it. You have to match the certificate with the batch number. Yeah. And a lot of people don't even understand that every product should have a certificate of analysis and tell you exactly what's in there. How much CBD is in there? How much CBDA is in there? How much CBG is in there? What other type of terpenes are in there? So for me, I found that it was just a lack of education in the community. You know what I mean? And it wasn't accessible to my people. Like, my dad is 86 years old. I don't even know where he is half of the time. Like, he's all over the place.
He's so sweet. I've seen his pictures.
Oh my God, he is so sweet. And every year he grows a garden that's literally almost an acre. And he grows it so that the community can come and get whatever they want out of it. He just loves doing it. Every morning he takes his tincture and he's gone. And he takes he takes his little cholesterol pill, and he watches his little diet, and he's got his little bike. But, you know, even the people in my community, I give my products away more than I even sell them, because if I see somebody suffering with gout and I know for a fact that they don't have the money, I'm just going to give them a bottle because I know it's going to help them. And that is the great part about having your own brand, because I don't have to say, okay, well, it costs me $60 to get the bottle, so now I have to sell it to them for $120 to make my money back. Like, I don't have to do that. So all I'm literally doing is paying my farmer that I work with, which is great. He's been growing cannabis and hemp for 40 years.
Wow.
Under the radar, under the radar. So it's like, you know, I get my bottles, we do the CO2 extraction. Of course, I send my products out to get them lab tested. But for me, the reward is the fact that I can just give it away. I can give it to somebody. I don't have to charge people for it, because I didn't get into it for the money. But the downfall is being a female and being a African-American female people try you all the time. I get tried every single day. And it's hard because you have to fight harder, and you have to, I always have to end up pulling my credentials out. And I hate that I have to do that. You know, it's like, I can't come and talk to them just one-on-one on business. I have to, they always make me have to go there. And that's the part, you know, that I hate about it. Because you're constantly trying to prove yourself to them, or even, you know, they'll say something like, I had a guy say to me one time, yeah, do you even know what, you know, CBD and cannabis is for? And I'm like, first of all, I'm a nurse. Like, you insulted my intelligence. And second of all, what are you talking about? You talking about the endocannabinoid system? I said, come on, let's go. We can have a chat. Then it's like, oh, okay. Well, you know, maybe we can talk tomorrow, and maybe, and I'm like, why do I have to do that every time I sit down at the table with people? But, you know, it's getting better over time. Like, I don't let it affect me. I know it's not anything personal. I know it's just the norm in that industry, because it's male dominated, but it's a lot of women. I mean, it's a lot of women stepping up, and they're making major moves. So that's a good thing.
Do you think in the process of starting so you had to find a grower, you had to, I mean, there's like a whole bunch of steps that you took in there. What do you think was like the most difficult step in the process? Like, you know, going from idea to package, you know, product in hand.
Finding a grower that would work with me on the level that I wanted to work on, because you have growers that grow for companies, right? So you may have one tincture and 500 other people are selling the same tincture. They're just white labeling it. Mm-hmm. So it's not a good product, because it's gone through so many levels to get in the bottle until what you're supposed to be giving the community is not actually what they're doing. So first of all, I had to gain his trust, because he's up there in the mountains. I had to gain his trust. And then I told him what I wanted to do. And for him, he told me that the reason why he decided to work with me was because he could tell that I honestly it wasn't about the money for me. You know, of course I have to try to make back some of the I don't even want to think about the money I've spent, but you know, I really want people to understand that they have alternatives other than going to the doctor, like how my dad's doctor would do and say, oh, here, take this pill. Everything is about a pill. Take this pill. And our community we're health illiterate. Nobody educates them. And being a case manager, it's like, I see it every day. I'll talk to members and I'm like, honey, you're going to the hospital because your pressure is dropping. You're taking 4 different high blood pressure medications. Did you know that? I don't even have high blood pressure. I'm like, yeah, you did. So it's like, you know, they are just clueless. It's sad when you really talk to people are really health illiterate. And in our community, we aren't taught alternative methods. Like, we're not taught that.
I mean, what you're saying is so eye-opening too, because so my husband's from Mississippi, and then I'm from New York, and then we have friends everywhere because of the military, so we've been everywhere, and a lot of places are on the southeast. So I find that when people see, like, you know, if I share any benefits of cannabis in my personal life or in Odell's personal life, people are kind of curious about it. But there's also like, I mean, people will ask, is CBD even legal here? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. You know, like, people are at that point still where they feel CBD, you know, they don't want to get in trouble for CBD. And obviously we have those issues with, you know, CBD that has the legal, you know, 0.3% THC, and that some people test positive and all that. So that is a real thing. But at the same time, it's also educating people on, you know, that this is a viable option for you. I was just talking to somebody about cancer. I did a panel about cancer, and they said that people, you know, one of the things we realized was, like, people come to cannabis as a last ditch effort. People come to cannabis because everything else has failed, and now they're here to see you about cannabis. So I think I love, as a case manager, I think that you, because I'm a case manager too, and I agree, and it's right, some other way. But as a case manager, I feel like you have such a good skill, because part of our skill is to look at all the barriers, look at all that, like, you know, look at the big picture and kind of see like, how can I make this better? You know what I'm saying? How can I make better outcomes for this person? And even though as nurses we do that, I think when you're at the bedside, you don't really think about the outside. You don't think about what's going to happen once the person gets discharged and their whole long plan. I mean,
you can't think about any of that when you're doing bedside. All you can think about is right now, and I got to get their stats back up. I got to give them their diabetes.
Can we get that clean up? Because I need to put another patient in here.
Exactly. So it's like we don't have time to think about those things, but it's like, you know, there's the barrier there, and you get to process the bigger picture of it. And like, even with my products, like my demographic is 50 and up. Like I have a lot of younger clients, but you know, the fact of it is that it's still federally illegal. Even with getting cards, like I don't even consult anymore. Like I was doing it, I was charging, and I said, you know what? I was like, that's not what I need to be doing, because first of all, they can get the information. Like I tell them where to go get the information, but it's like you have to, and even in order to possess a medical marijuana card now, especially like Virginia is just so crazy, you can't have a firearm. And, you know, I tell people personally, you know, with the way things are going on today, I'd much rather have a firearm in my house than a medical marijuana card, because I can get me some weed. You know what I mean? I'd much rather have that in my house. Like, and then you have people that live in government housing. You know, if someone comes in their house, and even if they have a medical marijuana card and they've got that weed in there, they're going to get kicked out because it's still federally illegal. You know, military, if you live in military housing and you use it and you have a card, that card doesn't protect you from anything. The only thing it basically does is it gives you can go to dispensary and you can get a cheaper rate. But other than that, it's really not. I'm noticing that the cards really aren't that great of a benefit anymore. Like they were supposed to be.
Yeah. And the challenge too is that
like a medical marijuana card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think every state is probably a little bit different, but I know here, you know, I don't know, some people have them, some people don't, it just depends. But one thing that I do know is like with the, like for instance, with pregnant women, I find this all the time. Like they're like, I have a medical marijuana card, but then if they test positive, you know, when they're in labor, they'll keep the baby in the NICU something and test the baby's stool and do all this stuff. So, you know, on my Instagram, that is like, I call it like Baby Central, because I get like hundreds of mamas over there. They all want to know. They all want Nurse Sandra to tell them it's going to be okay. You know, and it's hard because I know, you know, we're in this gray space right now. You know what I mean? It depends on who your provider is, you know, but the likelihood of your child getting tested or, you know, all these other things, it's a real, you know, it's real. CPS getting involved, all those things.
Yes. And it's like all over you trying to manage, you're just trying to manage your health. Basically, you're managing your health. And because of this, and there hasn't been any, you know, of course, people will say, did I lose you? Of course, people will say, you know, it's bad for the baby. They haven't had any solid proof that it has affected the child, you know. But like you said, you go into labor and you test positive, they'll keep your baby.
Yeah.
You know, and people's like, well, if you have the card,
it's a whole process. And then some places they're like, oh, you need to go to rehab and all this other stuff, or they have CPS come and check your home and follow you and whatever. And it's like, who needs that when you're trying to bond with your baby? Like the most important thing is for that baby and that mama to bond. That's it. There's nothing more important than that. Sorry, maternity.
So, but yet they'll tell you, oh, you need pain management, and they'll send you off to get addicted to opioids. But this natural plant here is like, you got to go through all this. So, you know, when people ask me about getting a medical marijuana card, I'm very honest with them. I'm like, you know, I think people think that it's going to protect them. And I'm like, it really is not going to protect you. The only thing that you may be able to do is you may have access to different flour. You know, you may have access to order it online in some places. Right. And I said, even with that, you have to be very careful, because through the mail, if they mail you something and somebody finds out, then that's a federal offense. So right. It's like, it's not, we have to fight.
There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of mess. Yeah.
It's a lot of mess with it. So it's like, you know, is it really worth telling people, yeah, I think this is what you need to do? So I'm like, you know, it's your decision to make, but let me tell you about the downs of it. Like, you're hearing, oh yeah, you can go get weed, and it's not that simple. You know, it's not going to protect you. Like with your job, if you have a job that has a no drug policy, just because you have that card, if you test positive, you can still get fired. You know, even with my products, I tell them, you know, I cannot guarantee you that you will not test positive on your drug screen. Right. So that's why my demographic is really geared to those that are disabled, those that do not have to worry about a drug screening, because, you know, I have to put that out there. And I'm like, if you know, understand that if you use this product, it will help you, but at the same time, you can test positive. And a lot of people say, oh, you don't test positive with CBD, and that's not true.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's not true. So
some of this CBD, I'm gonna just say, some of this CBD, it hits like regular. Oh, like, I mean, I'm like, okay, is this CBD? I'm like, I gotta check this, because, you know, some of it will give you, like, if you use flour, some of it does have those, you know, psych effects to it that we say CBD doesn't have.
Right.
Even with the 0.03 whatever percent, 0.03%.
I mean, yeah, because the only difference between hemp, and a lot of people don't realize, the only difference between hemp and cannabis is growth time. That's it. If you let a hemp plant grow another week, another two, the TH level goes up. So that's really the only difference, is the harvest time. So, and then you have some growers that say, you know, well, I'm gonna let it grow I'm gonna let my hemp grow just another little week longer. Yeah, just a little bit longer.
Do you know, so because you're working with a grower, you know, I know in North Carolina, for instance, I know there was like a few farms that they just made them like burn up all their crops because they were over the 0.03% or whatever. Has your, you know, where you're with the guy that you're working with, has he had those issues before?
He really hasn't had those issues, only because, like I said, he's from Kentucky, and he's up in the woods. But his thing is, he has, he's been doing it for so long until he knows how to stay under the radar. And he doesn't deal with companies. Like, he doesn't deal with companies. He'll deal with, I honestly, well, he told me the only reason why was because he knew I wasn't trying to make a lot of money, and he knew that I honestly wanted people to feel better using the product. But he doesn't deal with big companies. And he said that he thinks that is an issue when the money part comes into it, and people get greedy and they just want to, you know, put it out there. But I mean, everything's got a trail. Everything's got a trail. And if you're doing your products right, there's a batch number to go with that crop number. And I just got my Virginia processor's license last month. And I just applied for my grower's license because I want to start growing my own hemp. So even where I'm growing, I had to stay in exactly where I'm growing, and they had to come and have a satellite view of where I'm going to be at. They need to know where every seed that I have is going to be planted. It's the craziest thing, where it's going to be planted. So you can't grow in Virginia and them not know where you're going to grow at, because they want a satellite map of exactly where you are.
Is that something in the process? Like, okay, on Thursday, we're going to come and satellite map where this is at, or you have to pay to have that done as well?
I had to pay to have that done prior to. I had to already pay to have that done. So, I mean, it's been a very, 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 very expensive process, but it's like, then when you get with like social media, like, which is why I'm changing my name. So I don't need social media to sell my products, but it helps, you know? So like for me, you know, I took it back old school. Like when I used to do parties, my DJ is still very well known in Hampton Road. So I'm like, you know, he had some issues and I said, I want you to use my product. And he's like, oh, you want me to? I said, no, I don't want you to advertise until you use my product. I want you to use it. I want you to tell me if it helped you. If it didn't help you, I don't want you to tell anybody about it. But if it helped you, I want you to advertise. So that's what he does. He'll do his little thing for the radio and he'd be like, hey, shout out to whatever. So I took it back to my community.
Yeah.
But, you know, overall, like social media, anything with CBD, they will not let you promote.
Yeah. And
they will block you.
So that's a challenge that you've had, because you were saying, so your business currently is CBD Health and Wellness Suite, but you're having, and then your brand is the Helena's Faith Botanicals. So you can find her at Helena's Faith Botanicals on social media, but you're having to change everything to Helena's Faith because CBD is a problem. What's the problem? It's a problem on for advertising. It's a problem for
on Facebook, they will block you. And because your Facebook is linked to your Instagram, you can't do ads, you can't promote. So I had to remove the CBD out of it altogether. And Helena's Faith is the name of my products, my brands, because I named it after my mom. She passed from lung cancer. So now I had to change it to Helena's Faith Botanicals so that I'm able to promote it and to get it out there. And then once people go in and see my site, then they can see that, you know, my products are hemp derived, it's hemp derived CBD. So it's like, you got to do these workarounds, but it's like, dude, I got to pay every time. It costs money. Like it costs money for everything. Like I had already had certain things trademarked. That's expensive. You know, it's a must to get your business trademarked, but it's like, I have to pay for different logos. I have to pay for the person who does my social media. I had to pay for a new website. So it gets expensive, but it's like, once you get in, it's like, I can't turn around now. I got to keep going because I'm almost there.
Right. So now that you're like getting closer to, do you feel like once you change the name and you're just Helena's Faith, do you feel like that's going to be like, this is it? Like, what's next? What are you gonna, like, how are you gonna, what do you plan on doing next? And then can you tell us a little bit about the products? Because I know I actually have some tea and some gummies, and I think I sent some gummies out as one of the raffle prizes recently. So, you know, tell us one, how you're, you know, what's going to happen once you change the line over, like, you know, what are you seeing for Helena's Faith? And then the other question is, you know, to tell us a little bit about the products and the story, because there's a story behind them. So let us.
So I'm excited because we are coming out with 2 other brands. So right now we have the Cbd Infused Teas, which I love. I love the teas. And then we have the broad and the full spectrum. And that's one thing I've noticed, you know, is trial and error. After January, I will not be carrying broad spectrum CBD anymore. For one, it takes my guy a lot to have to remove the THC from it when he's extracting. And not only that, my little old people, they always say, give me the stuff that's got the stuff in it. I'm like, what stuff in it? Like, they're like, if I'm gonna do it, I want the THC in it. I don't want it without. So I've learned that that's not, people want the THC. So there's no need for me as a business to have, to go through the process of carrying a broad spectrum when nobody wants it. I do have parents that give it to their kids for ADHD. They give it to them in the morning because in Virginia, the schools are allowed now to give children CBD. The only problem is the nurses in some of the school districts do not want to educate their nurses on it, which as a parent, if I had a child that had ADHD, I would much rather them take a gummy with CBD in it and some THC in it than to put them on Adderall. Me personally, I would rather for my child to have that. But I mean,
I was on Adderall. I can tell you for sure with all certainty, if it was about my child and what she needed, I would definitely not put her on Adderall because it is not this. It's not the best. It's not what they say it's gonna do. Okay.
Right. So I do have some parents that use the broad spectrum
right.
for that, but so I have 3 children, right? So my oldest daughter, her and her husband live in North Carolina, and she has a chain of barber salons for men. So we are currently developing a CBD line, infused CBD line for men. And then my son, he lives in Italy. He has a tattoo salon in Milan. We are currently developing a CBD infused cream for aftercare for tattoos. So I'm excited about that. And then I have a line of CBD candles coming out soon that are infused with hemp for, to massage for pain, anxiety, and intimacy. So I'm really excited about that.
So you melt the candles and then you use the oil from the candles? Okay.
Yeah, so you burn the candle, and once the candle burns, you can use the candle, like if you got knee pain, you can just pour that wax on your knee and just rub that warm oil in it. That's taken a long time. That's been a year in the making, because we got burnt up quite a few times. So but I'm really excited about that product. But it's just, for me, when people come up and they're like, oh my God, I feel so much better. The pain is gone. And the fact that I know that I have something that they can afford and it's a quality product, that's what it is. That's the good thing for me.
That's awesome. So let me ask you another question. When you have, for instance, a cream, a balm, or whatever, a tincture, all these things, your grower, like, you're having to take this somewhere else?
No. So this is why. So my grower, he does my extraction for my tinctures. But once I get my grower's license, I'm gonna do my own. So right now I'm a processor. Right now in Virginia, I'm considered a processor. So now he can send me the flower, and I can process it myself in my own space for my products. But I had to make sure that I had a processor's license first, because like I said, with the mail, coming through the mail, that processor's license that's registered with the state of Virginia is going to protect me from somebody saying, hey, we got this nurse that's she's sending weed back and forth through the mail. So when he sends it to me, it has to be, the post office requires it has to be packaged a certain way. The certificate of analysis has to be in there. His batch numbers have to be in there. And I have to have a processor's license showing that I'm registered to get this bulk amount of hemp legally. So I'm excited about that. But even that was a process with the state of Virginia, because they're like, well, what do you, and I'm like, it's about health and wellness. I said, I want people to feel better, but I'm like, at the same time, I have to protect my nursing license, because I'm not even finished paying for that bad boy yet. I'm probably going to be dying still in debt with that.
And for all the nurses out there that can definitely relate to that.
Yeah. So, it's just been a process. So for me, I'm excited about actually, like the candles, we did that ourselves, but it's just the process is exciting for me. If I could concoct all day and I didn't have to, if I had a kid in college and I didn't have to pay college tuition, and I could just lay around and just get up and concoct with medical marijuana, with my little buds, my flowers, I would be the happiest person on earth. And that's the plan. The plan. Because like I said, I'm in the process of starting to grow, but I'm actually building a house on the property that I bought, so I can do everything there. Because right now it's like I'm in Hampton Roads 3 to 4 days a week, and then I'm in Tappahannock, Virginia, where I'm building like the other 3 days a week. So I'm going back and forth. And
where is that?
Like wearing me out.
Where is that?
It's like an hour outside of DC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an hour outside of DC.
So with being in Virginia, because Virginia they just legalized, right? Like last year or something. Their marijuana, well, not legalized, but their medical marijuana program just started last year or something, right?
They just started. They legalized it last year, but the first dispensary just opened like maybe 3 months ago.
In the whole state?
In the whole state in Bristol, Virginia. And they're only going to have 5 in the whole state.
Wow.
They're only going to have 5 in the whole entire state. And like, even with their card, you know, it would even be worth it if they could use their card and go to DC.
Right.
DC does not accept Virginia's medical marijuana card. They don't participate.
Cards from everywhere?
They accept cards from everywhere, but not Virginia.
Wow. That's
and it's like Virginia is right here and DC is like a step over the line.
Yeah.
But they don't. And a lot of people have gotten charged because they'll go there anyway and get it. And then when they come back into Virginia, they get a transport charge.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Ivory, I just want to make sure if we had any questions from any of the listeners, let me know. So I'll go ahead and ask while we still had Candy on the air. Oh, can you hear me? I'm not muted. You're muted. Oh, she's like, unmute me. How are you muted? You're a host.
That's funny. I don't know. It's probably something I did. That was some good information, Candace. We do have a few questions, or comments. Let me see. On our page, Kanika Williams says that she is a certified nurse case manager working with government workers' comp program. She has experienced similar situations with patients with chronic pain. They do look at cannabis as taboo. She says, thanks for sharing, Candy. So another case, there's several case managers on here, and we all can attest to, and actually Happy Case Management Week, I believe it starts tomorrow or sometime or another, but that was one of the things. Another thing I was going to inject and say too, since a lot of your patients, it look like you basically are running kind of doing sort of like an indigent program, you may want to use that and make sure you just collect the data. And then, down the road, you can do something with that data when you get ready to present it to insurance companies or something like that, especially for the people that you are helping, the ones that can't afford it. If they were on 4 blood pressure medicines and then started taking Helena's faith, and then 6 months later, they're down to 2, then that's I'm all about appealing. That's my case.
Yeah, and I've talked to my company and they're all for it, right? But the thing is that if so say they say, how you have behavioral health, you got child and women health, like all the different departments in the insurance company. I said, why not have case managers that are there just for those patients that use medical marijuana to help manage, right? So it's always, it's the same thing. That's a great idea. However, Medicare and Medicaid are federal programs. They're federal programs. So guess what? We're going to go out of business because they're not going to give us that money. So,
I always tell people just to watch that. What I've learned about insurance, and I've posted this a little bit in the group too, that it's the article from a major insurer that basically says that they have a division that's set aside to look at, they have a pod of a nurse, a doctor, and a pharmacist that's set aside to look at cannabis claims. Now, of course, they're not going to put that on a billboard or announce it, but it just shows you that they are, watching it. Let me see.
Right, because that's just like, I had a client ask me, and she had a great point. I had never thought about that. She said that with her insurance, she has the flexible spending account. And she said, she asked her insurance company, why can't I use that money at the dispensary? And I was like, you know what, that is a great point because you're using it for your health and your wellness. I had never thought about that. But she said that, of course, they denied it. But I was like, even if people could do that, that would be a great asset for them, because even when they go to the dispensaries, it's expensive. It's expensive buying from the dispensary. And I was like, if they could use that money to buy their medical marijuana, their product, they should be able to. But I had never thought about that. And I was like, that's a good point.
flexible spending is a federal program, so I think that's why.
Right.
Immediately.
Right.
And I think it varies on the server too, because I actually asked one of the pharmacies or dispensaries here in Louisiana that question. And what he basically told me is we run the card, and if it go through, it go through. And if some of them go through and some of them don't. So it depends on, it's sort of like if you using PayPal versus Square. One servicer, catches it and flags it, and another one
because that's another thing. Even with my business, I've had to open up 4 different bank accounts because they get closed down all the time. My bank accounts, I mean, PayPal will contact me. I have to give them, I have to provide them with my certificate analysis. Squarespace, I've had to provide them with certificate analysis. So it's like, that's kind of frustrating too when you have to go from bank to bank. And the last institution I went there, I didn't have a paper in my hand. I said, look, this is what I do. Can I do it? Because I'm not even gonna bring my stuff in here and you tell me that I can do it and then you shut me down. Can you do it? And I want you to tell me and show me that I can open up this account before I even go through the process. So they're supposedly getting better with that. But I mean, we'll see. That account's been open now for 6 months. It hasn't gotten closed. So I mean, that's a good thing. But
and then Sandra, you said which servicer you use that you said is very good? Oh, Sandra, I think is on mute.
Oh, sorry. I use Square. They don't really bother you that much. Well, they haven't yet. And I do use it for services, consulting services, and I am an affiliate for products. So sometimes I use it for products that I sell. And I title everything what it is because I feel like I got to be upfront because,
exactly.
Like, I'm like, what's the point of, trying to go around the bush with it? So when people buy stuff from me, it says CBD oil, CBD balm, whatever. I mean, I work with Nurse Grown Organics and they provide me, all of their COAs, so I have the certificate of analysis if I need it per batch. It's funny because my clients, it's like you said, they don't even look for this stuff. And it's really our job to show them that this exists so that we separate ourselves from the fray, from like what's good and what's bad out there. And also so that they can be more educated. Because honestly, I didn't know in the beginning. I mean, literally nobody knows. I mean, I grew up in the Bronx. You got weed in a bag.
Exactly. Right.
It had no you didn't know what was in it. There's many places that people still get it like that, right? I mean, I always have to remind myself that because I live in California and what is accessible here is totally different than what everybody else has. But what I love about what you're doing and what and I tell this to Ivory all the time because she's in Louisiana is, even though I'm in California, it surprises me every single day. I do so much education and I live in California and there's dispensaries, all over the place. Right. And I still feel that there's so much education to do. People come to me and they ask me for stuff and then they're like, they're just amazed at how it works and why it works and all that stuff. And they're really kind of curious, still.
Yeah.
Right. They're on the curiosity stage. But what I love about what you're doing is not only that people are kind of curious, they're also kind of scared. Right.
Yeah.
And that they need it so much. I mean, when I talk to Ivory all the time, I tell her, oh my God, when I go to Mississippi, when I go to New York, when I go to all these places and I talk to people, like it affects me. It affects me so much because there's just such a lack of, people being able to know what's real, what's not, what's legal, what they should be looking for, why it works. I mean, a lot of people won't eat, like I said before, cannabis, CBD, all of it. It's just like a last ditch effort. Like I've tried everything and here I am. Yet, when I went to Mississippi the last time, we were talking to some people and the way they rattle off all these medications that they're on, they're like,
I don't know medications. Yeah. You're like, how you walking and talking and breathing? Like, how you doing that right now? You on like 30 different pills. You taking insulin and you be like, I'm not a diabetic. Girl, you a diabetic. Let me sit here and educate you. You be like, girl, you was a diabetic. Your doctor didn't tell you was a diabetic, but let me tell you why you shooting that medicine inside of you every single day. So it's like, as a case manager, and I think that was one of the things, you get to talk to people and you really realize that there is we're health illiterate. Like, we're health illiterate. And then, you know, for me, it's about my community, because as far as like business goes, like I said, I've always had businesses, but I had told somebody the other day, they were like, you really need to get involved. And it was some kind of organization. And I was like, but why? And they were like, well, you know, with what you do, you know, you could be an asset. And I'm like, but I'm licensed in these states, but that's a whole nother state. I need to focus on what's going on in Virginia and my people in Virginia, and making sure that, you know, they have healthy outcomes. I can't take on 12 different states. I can only be good in one state where I know where the disparities are. I know where the need is, and I'm going to focus on that, and I'm gonna go from there. Because a lot of people, you know, what you see on Facebook, you see on Instagram, it's like 50,000 million and a half groups. And everybody wants you to join their group, and everybody wants you to whatever. But a lot of times when you get in groups, you know, you think, well, I have this business, let me get in this group. And when you get in there, it's like some of the resources are great resources, but the person that started the group basically started a group so they could sell their products to you. Or when you look deeper into the group as a whole, everybody in the group in a whole is promoting something that is a benefit to them, but not to your community. So then you have to learn how to discern what information is going to be most helpful for you to go on the journey that I feel God has for you. Like, I feel God has a journey for me and a purpose for me, but I had to discern how to get and how to start on my journey. And I think that's in this realm that we're in as cannabis nurses. I think, you know, we're so anxious sometimes to be like, oh, well, these people are doing this. Let me get to, you know, I need to be over here. I need to be over there. And then sometimes you just got to stop and think and be like, you know what? That purpose over there, that's not my purpose. That's not like the purpose that God has for me. He has me on this purpose over here. So let me tune out everything that's going around me, and let me focus on educating my community, educating them on, you know, the benefits of cannabis. And then some people can't use cannabis. I've got patients that are on blood thinners. They're not good candidates for cannabis use, because it is a blood thinner and it's a green leafy vegetable. And a lot of people don't understand that. But, you know, overall, I just think that, you know, it's important for us to go out here and educate our community where we are. And I think that's the start. I think, you know, we can get caught up sometimes and wanting to be here and wanting to be there. But I really do think in order to be successful in this realm and to be of most help, we need to start in our community. Like Sandra was saying, she's in California, but she didn't even realize that she's got all those people there that are still not even educated.
Right. And all of that goes back to, you know, years, the effects of the war on drugs. It's gonna be a process that you have to. So even though we may get frustrated with family and friends who ask you, hey, can I have that? Can I do this? Exactly. That's really normal. It's frustrating, but it's
that's part of the process.
Yes. We have someone in the chat that says, this is Marsha D. Kentish. She said, hi, Doris, would love to connect with you. She's in Virginia and in the process of working on a nonprofit with a focus on veterans. So make sure you guys
that
connect.
would be great.
Shonda says that she wants to try those candles. It sounds amazing.
Girl, and Climax is the bomb. I haven't even put them on my Climax is the bomb.
So Yogi, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your first name and I apologize, Boards. She says that I'm applying for a processor license in South Carolina. I was told to use credit unions like credit unions like Navy Federal.
No, so Navy Federal will shut you down. Navy Federal will shut you down because they shut me down. That's where all my personal accounts are, but they will shut you down because they're a federal credit union.
I know about Navy Federal, but they do tell you credit unions, of course. So Navy Federal, I'm not sure if they are one, but yeah, she has a good point about credit
Yeah,
unions
Navy
and
Federal
also
will shut you
online
in.
banking. Really.
See, with me, I do a
Shannon
lot of
said,
I have a lot of cash transactions as well, because I mean, with my products, it's kind of like, you know, like I said, one of my friends that help me promote, he's a DJ. So he'll have a happy hour and he'll be like, Candy, like, it's five people up here at my happy hour, they want your products. Can you come through and bring it to them? I'm like, okay. So it's like I do a lot of cash business as well. And for me, you know, my business is my business, my personal is my personal. I make sure they're always separated. So I prefer to go somewhere where I can go to the bank, I can talk to the people, I can give them my cash. You know, if I have to do anything with my business account, because like my farm, even my house, everything is being set up in my business name. So for me, I need to be able to go see, talk, touch, feel. I need to do all that. So I can't personally, I wouldn't do good with online banking.
So Shannon says Square is really good. Like we just said, PayPal does not process CBD payments. If you sell CBD, you cannot open, well, she's saying the same thing. You cannot open a business account with with Navy Federal. I had to call around to different banks and credit unions to find out which institution we could use.
But now, see, that's why everybody can see why I changed the name of my company, is because with Helena's Faith Botanicals can be essential oils, they can be herbs, they can be whatever. So as long as everything is Helena's Faith Botanicals, CBD is out of it. Like CBD is out of it. Even on my labels, I have to put now my labels are going to have to say infused with hemp, not CBD. So I have to use the word hemp instead of CBD, and you can kind of do a workaround with it. But that's why I'm changing everything, because as soon as they see CBD with anything, it's like a red flag instantly.
Yeah. Okay, back to you, Sandra.
So, oh my gosh, like so much stuff. One, I feel like, you know, it's kind of sad that you have to go through all these kind of hoops to get to where you want to be. So I was, you know, I'm so grateful that you came and kind of shared with us, because you've had success, even if you've had to pivot with like the renaming, you know, and you're doing something that I think is so important. So one of the things that I like with COVID, I mean, we're all home, right? We're like, everybody's at home right now. And it's really made me take, like you said, note of my community. And I feel like every nurse should really look at her community. Like social media is great. I love social media. Social media for me is more of a place where I put out my information and my education, so that then when I do meet somebody in person, I can just kind of direct them there for more for more information. But I don't really sell stuff through social media. It just may happen, but that's not really it, you know? But I definitely love the way you said, like, giving back to our community. I think as cannabis nurses of color, I think that should be the thing that we focus on. We should definitely focus on our communities first, you know, and by our community, it doesn't have to be like maybe your neighbor right next to you, but, you know, the community at large where you live, because that's how you're going to change the health and wellness of our people, you know. I spent a lot of time sharing information. And it is, I always say, the hardest people for me to influence are Black and brown people to try cannabis or CBD, because of the stigma and because of what, you know, the information that's been out there. And also, you know, it's getting people past even the fact that you don't have to smoke it, you can eat it, you can have it as the oil. I mean, you can rub it on as a balm. People will come to me for CBD and ask me first for CBD oil, even if it's like I hurt my shoulder. And I'm like, well, a topical will probably be better than you take. But the thing is that since people don't know where to start, they just go with what they've seen marketed.
Exactly.
So that's what the benefit of being a cannabis nurse is, because you guys get to deliver that information, you know, directly. You can show them the evidence. Like, I mean, everything that you have trained your whole life as a nurse for, you're now like, you know, you get to pick from your toolbox of information and apply that to cannabis. I think that's awesome.
I think another thing that's important is, I think it's so important that you and Ivory did this. I think it's amazing because as cannabis nurses of color, we have to realize that we already see, you know, how the whole marijuana thing, how it's stigmatized anyway. But there are groups that do the same thing that we do, but they're very, very particular on making sure that their counterparts are promoted, that their counterparts have the access. So for us, like for me, it's important that if I've got, you know, if I got 5 sis in this group and I know that they have something, I'm gonna ask their permission first, because some people still are very, you know, they still don't want it out there, but I want to promote whatever any other nurses in this group are doing. And that's very, very, very important for us to stick together and promote. If you have a consulting business and, you know, I like grit my teeth every day when I talk to people in other states, because it's like, that's my work. So I have to keep the two totally separate. And I just want to be like, girl, all you need to do is smoke a blunt. Like, you will feel so much better. But I can't, you know, I can't do that. So it's important for me to know, I'd like to know what everybody is doing within our group, what I can do to help promote them in their business and what they're doing in their communities, to help get the word out. Because, you know, hey, if somebody's going to write a book, tell me about the book you write so I can promote your book. Tell me about what you're doing so that we can uplift and promote each other as well. Because at the end of the day, you know, you still got to grind and go hard for yours, because it may appear that people have your best interest, and sometimes that's not always the case. And you have to learn how to discern between the people that actually want to make a difference and the people that are trying to just get known. Because the people that I feel like are just trying to get known or get their name out there, I stay away from them, because they got a whole different, their vibe is totally different.
And I think that's one thing that when we started off, I think we started off with the intention of, we just want to see each other win. Like, that's basically it. Like, Ivory and I are like, what are y'all doing? I hope that everyone that's inside our group will share what they're doing. Like, we are always, we're like, share, tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, like if you got a shirt that got a weed plant on it, tell me about your shirt so I can wear your shirt when I'm on live, and I can tell people, hey, this is where I got this shirt from. Like, you know, and I'm really, really passionate about that, because you know, we've experienced inclusion, and we've experienced being excluded. You know what I mean? And the common thing is, I'm seeing that there's promotion within, there's, you know, uplifting within, but, you know, when you get to us, you know, sister nurses, it's not there like it should be. You know what? It's not there like it should be. And like for me, unfortunately, you know, I'll have some of our counterparts come and want all my products. And then I'll have some people in my family that are like, and I'm just like, you so scared that I'm going to get $1 more than you. I don't know why. Like, I don't, you know, it's not like that. So for me, it's important. Like, I'm just happy that you all have this group, because I want to promote everybody that's doing something in this group. I want you to tell me what you're promoting, what business you got, and I'm going to try to plug you. I'm going to try to do whatever I can to get you out there to help you win.
I appreciate that. Ivory, I think
it is, at the end of the day, it's all about community.
Exactly.
So that's what I wanted to say. It's all about community and the importance of community. And so that's why we have these conversations. Another thing that I would say is, pretty much just to wrap it up, everything that you spoke about today, Candy, all of the barriers, those barriers exist because of legislation. So one of the things that I harp on is, as nurses, particularly nurses in this space, we need to be more akin to health policy. And we have to, you change policy through watching legislation, being more active. So you're in, not just to you, but any of the viewers that's watching, if you deal with patients, if you deal with family or anybody that is a cannabis advocate, direct them to Normal, NORML.org, and let them.
But you know what you're saying is true, Ivory, because even in Virginia, I'm very active with Virginia Normal. Honey, let me tell you.
Oh, good.
It don't be no black people up in there. I be in there. It don't be no black people in there. None whatsoever. And I'll try to tell
it's all about us. It's about, yeah, and it's about us getting involved. So that's the purpose of this community, is so that we can start having a voice, you know, having a valuable voice at the table, and using our collective powers as nurses. That's why I always encourage people. And I don't have a Normal chapter in my area, and I'm not an affiliate of Normal, just in case. I want to give that full disclosure, but they do a lot of the groundwork for us, you guys, too. All we have to do is just go on there, send letters to our congressman, and just getting, you know, active. So that's all I wanted to say, Sandra, just to conclude.
All right. Well, if you guys are in the Cannabis Nurses of Color group, you can stay on. We're going to be ending our live stream, but for our CNOC, we're going to do our behind the scenes Q&A with Candy. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please share, comment, let us know that you're out there. And if you have questions, you can post them here, and we'll make Candy come back and answer them.
I will.
All right.
Thanks, Candy.
Thank you.